I'm rebuilding this 2021 Honda Ridgeline. It was salvaged and I'm going to get a rebuilt title for it. Right now I'm waiting for some parts, so I thought I would go ahead and recharge the refrigeration system. Well, the air conditioning refrigerant. It uses R1234yf, which is new to me. They replaced the stuff they were using, 134A. And this is mildly flammable, but I wouldn't be worried about that. It takes a different kind of valve. The adapter that you see here is left-hand threads. So you have to buy this adapter separate. I bought the best manifold that money can buy for $59.95 off of Amazon. Just because I don't want to use a better, nicer manifold on this material I'm not familiar with. This is the manifold I would normally use for air conditioning work, but I don't want to use that on this one. I have it out here now. Because I have an extra port on my vacuum pump that I needed to close, and I didn't have a cover to cap it off. Normally I would use this big black hose here for pulling the vacuum on refrigeration systems, air conditioning systems, but today I'm just going to use this small yellow hose. I'm going to pull a vacuum on this because the system was opened when I replaced the condensing coil. In the automotive industry they call it a condenser, but essentially it's a condensing coil. And the internet recommended that I add 2 ounces of refrigeration oil because I replaced the coil. So I bought this universal 68 synthetic oil. It says it's good for 1234yf. I think it's POF. Anyway, this is the stuff I got, and they recommended putting 2 ounces in if you replace the coil. So I just took off the vapor line and I poured 2 ounces into here, and that's going to go right into the compressor, but it's not going to hurt anything because that's the same port that I'm going to fill the refrigerant through, so it's going to push it through. It's not going to get a big slug of oil. It should be fine. Now if you pour a whole 4 or 5 ounces in there, whatever the capacity is, that could damage your compressor, but I think 2 ounces will be fine. You can see right here, my system says it holds 0.65 kilograms, which is roughly 22 ounces, I think. And I've got 3 cans of this, so that's 24 ounces. So I'm going to put most of that in there. It also tells you to use POE oil. So this must be POE oil. I actually don't see it on the label, but anyway, this is what was recommended by the internet. Now if you're just a little bit low on charge and you can figure that out, you just buy the can and a quick charge kit. This goes on your low side, your suction side, I believe, and then this end goes on the can. And you don't have to buy this valve separately, but since I'm charging the whole system, I'm going to pull a vacuum, put oil in, which I've already done, and then completely refill the charge. This is for topping off. You can't just take an empty system that's been open to the atmosphere and use a hose like this. Please don't do that. It's going to leave all kinds of vapor in your system and what they call non-condensables. When the compressor compresses the refrigerant, it condenses it to tight formation, and you can't do that if it's got water vapor in there. It won't work right. Could damage your system, could cost you a lot of money. I probably should say this isn't a tutorial. I'm just showing you what I'm doing and making some suggestions. So I've got the oil already put in. I'm going to reattach that line. The O-ring looks fine. Then I'm going to pull a vacuum. I'm going to see this go down to 30 inches of vacuum, which is a horrible way to measure vacuum. Really, you should be measuring in microns, but good enough for an automotive air conditioner as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to run the vacuum pump for an hour and call it good. And then I'm going to backfill the refrigerant through this yellow hose and to the low side until it won't take anymore. Then I'm going to turn the car on, start the car, turn the air conditioning on, and put in as much as I can with it running. Hopefully it'll start up. There's two switches in this system, a high side switch and a low side switch. So right now, if I turn the air conditioner on, it won't come on because the low side switch is not connected. You have to have a certain amount of refrigerant in there for the low side switch to connect and allow the compressor to come on. So I'm going to put that in when the car is off, the truck is off, and then I'll turn it on and it'll immediately probably start to cycle on and off, and then I'll just keep filling refrigerant until it gets to the point where it's full. So I'll measure that using the pressure gauges. These are actually, the low side is it's a two-way gauge. I forget what they call it, but it's high side and low side at the same time. Dual pressure gauge maybe, but it measures pressure and vacuum. So that's it. I'm going to get started. I'm not going to film it all. I don't think it's going to be that interesting, but oh, I should also say that, show you these hoses. They came with these quick connects. So you pull this sleeve back, screw this all the way out, pull the sleeve back, push it on the connector, push that on, and then you tighten this all the way in. You can see how cheap these are. This says high side. That's actually the low side. Blue is the vapor side. It's the low side. Red is the high side. That's the liquid side. So don't believe that if yours says high. But this is a nice vacuum pump. It should do a good job in an hour. I think it's 7 CFM, and the oil's been changed in it, and it runs great. This is the gauge set that I got, $59.99 off of Amazon. And I'm not going to bore you with the whole process, but like I said, I'm just going to pull the vacuum for an hour, and then I'm going to open up the low side, and I'll attach the hose to this, screw this in to pierce the I'm going to attach the yellow hose to here, screw this valve all the way down to pierce the bottle, and then I'll back it back out, and that'll allow the refrigerant to flow into this hose. Then I'll unscrew this fitting right here, which will allow the air to come out until refrigerant comes out of there. And then I'll tighten that back up, and that'll purge all the air out of the line. And then I'll open up this blue valve until it won't take any more refrigerant. And then I'm going to turn the system on and fill up the rest of the refrigerant. Hopefully it will go well. I've never done this kind of refrigerant before, but I've watched a couple videos of other guys do it, and it looks pretty much just like every other system I've ever done. So they do recommend taking it off of vacuum and seeing if it holds vacuum, mainly because it is slightly flammable, so they want you to have an extra level of caution, but I'm not concerned about it. It's never going to be in an enclosed environment. If you have a slight flammable leak outdoors, it's just going to blow away. It's not going to blow anything up. You'd have to be near an enclosed area or near a flammable source. So I wouldn't do this work in your garage with a water heater or any kind of open flame. But again, it's just slightly flammable. It's not super flammable. It's not propane, I don't think. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and talk to you later.